All right. Bam. Hold on, everybody. Wait. Don't have my phone. Don't have my phone. Hold on. I'm gonna do a quick little Instagram thing. Hey, everybody. Over on the YouTube channel right now, I'm going live to record the next episode of the podcast. And today's topic is, can you trust doctors? Anybody in here? Oh, hey! What up, D? What up, Kate? What up, Jungle? The original Jogurt. What up, SL Davis? Give me 1 second. I'm just sharing the podcast or the live stream. And while all of you are in here, go share the live stream. Go share it on social media. Share it on Facebook or Twitter or wherever it is that you do your thing, baby. All right, give me 1 sec. Let me just share this on Twitter real quick. Hello. Can you trust doctors? 1 sec. Bada bing. Bada boom. All right. Hey. Oh, snap. Diane's in here. I was just thinking about you. I need to catch up on your videos. What's up, girl? Go check out Diane's channel. All right. Just fun stuff. I want to watch the one about you checking out people's like Irish accents. All right, everybody. So if you're in the live stream, if you're not yet, make sure you go check out the podcast. This is episode 9. It's up on all the other platforms. Check it out. It's on Spotify and the Apple one and the Google one. And I need to upload the new episodes onto SoundCloud. But anyways, check it out. Everybody's been asking me forever. All right, so anyways, you're going to hear me do my little spiel. So I'm going to try to check the chat as much as possible. If you have questions or something that you want me to expand on in the live chat, just let me know by tagging me. Tag at the Rewired Soul so I can answer them. All right, let me start this recording. Hold on, let me make sure, test my microphone real quick. Test. Okay, all right. What is up, everybody? Welcome back to episode 9 of A Different Lens podcast. Thank you so much for joining me today. And I'm still living on YouTube, so make sure you're subscribed to the YouTube channel, The Rewired Soul. But yeah, if you haven't subscribed onto the podcast on whatever platform you're listening to it on Spotify or Apple or Google or wherever it is, make sure you subscribe or follow or whatever it is, whatever that is. It helps me out, helps get the word out there. Rate it, do your thing. All right, so today's topic is, can you trust doctors? Okay, so on the YouTube channel, I've been doing a lot of videos lately, all right? A lot of videos about Suboxone, long-term versus short-term tapers, as well as Suboxone maintenance, which are different things. I've also been talking about the opioid crisis. The video I made this morning was talking about Donald Trump and the overprescribing of medications in the United States. So a question that came up was like, well, how do you know if you could trust your doctor? So I think this is very important to talk about. In another episode I did a while back, I was talking about like morals and ethics, right? And one of the biggest misconceptions out there is just because somebody has a degree or a license does not necessarily mean they are ethical or they are moral, all right? Like you can take an ethics course and not be ethical, okay? So we get into a tricky situation, right? We get into a very tricky situation of, can I trust doctors? Should I trust doctors? And this is something that I struggled with for a long time because throughout my life, I just hated doctors. I hated doctors so much, right? I always felt like whenever I went to go see a doctor, and some of you might be able to relate to this, whenever I went to go see a doctor, I would sit down, I would start explaining what's going on with me, and they would just immediately have an answer, right? Like they didn't want to sit there and listen to me. They just took a few things that I said and they would just immediately diagnose me. It's like, no, like chill out, listen to what I'm saying. I've been to 5 doctors before. I'm trying to figure this out, whatever. And they would never listen. I hated doctors for that. But good news is today, I have like the best primary care doctor on the face of the planet. Like, she will sit there and she will talk to me. Like, sometimes when I go into appointments with her, like, I'll be sitting in the waiting room for like 30 or 45 minutes after my appointment, but I don't mind. And the reason I don't mind is because I know she's giving her other patients the same courtesy that she gives to me, which is sitting down and talking to them. Like, she will sit there and talk with me and explain things to me, and oh my God, I love it so much. All right, so by no means necessary am I saying that all doctors are bad, right? And that's one of the issues that I find with people, you know, when they listen to my content or they watch my content, is they make situations very black and white. A great example is the whole Suboxone topic that I have. Like, there are people out there making videos saying like, he's giving out information that can kill people. And it's like, okay, calm down. Quit being so extra about this, right? Like, it's not black and white. So many situations are not very black and white. Like, I've never said like, you know, don't take Suboxone. Like, just be mindful of the information out there. Be mindful that you can become dependent and addicted to this substance. Like, just be mindful of that. I'm not saying don't take it. Like, even though I think that we overprescribe pain medications, I'm not saying that nobody on earth should take pain medications. Like, some people need it. Like, some people have chronic pain and they need these things. You know what I mean? So not everything is so black and white. So when I say, can you trust doctors? And I talk about some issues with doctors and overprescribing, I'm not saying all doctors are bad. I'm just saying that there's an issue and we all need to face the facts behind that. Like, I remember there's a documentary on Netflix, and it's from Arnold Schwarzenegger's daughter. I forgot her name. But anyways, if any of you want to check it out, there's a documentary on Netflix called Take Your Pills, okay? So this documentary called Take Your Pills, it's about the abuse and overprescribing of Adderall, okay? Like the ADHD medication. So that is the point of the documentary. And I made some videos about that, and I discussed the overprescribing of pain medication, or not pain medications, but ADHD medications, and a lot of people got very upset. A lot of people got really upset about it. And not only did they get upset with my videos, they got upset with the documentary itself. And like, the purpose of that documentary was just to shine some light on the fact that there are many people abusing these medications. There are many doctors who are overprescribing this medication and all that stuff. But anyways, check out that documentary on Netflix. It's called Take Your Pills. So in the video I did this morning on Donald Trump, I showed some statistics and studies, and I talked about how the United States, we prescribe more opioids than anybody else on earth, than any other country. And whenever I hear that, whenever I see a study that shows that, the question I always have is, okay, well, should I believe that the United States has more people in pain than any other country on earth? Like, why would that be? Why would the United States be in more pain than any other country on earth? You see what I mean? So if you get down to that base level thinking, then you start to be like, okay, well, maybe there's something else going on here. So when we're talking about prescription opioids, when we're talking about medications like Xanax or Valium, when we're talking about Adderall, like, how do you trust a doctor? How do you know? How do you know when they're doing the right thing? Because what we have to realize is some of the most awful things that are happening in the world are because of money, right? So they're because of money. Like, if you look at the opioid crisis that we got into, it was all because of money. The pharmaceutical industry was improperly marketing opioids. They were saying these are non-addictive, and it was all for money. They wanted to be the pain medication. So they said, listen, this has the best effect. This will reduce pain the best. There is no possibility that you will become addicted. So the pharmaceutical industry tells that to doctors. Doctors start passing out opioids all willy-nilly, and now look where we're at today. We're in the middle of a freaking opioid epidemic, right? And it's all because they wanted to make a buck, right? So when we look at it, like, I remember there's a bit, I forgot whose bit it was. I think a lot of comedians talk about it. Chris Rock, I remember specifically, and this was a stand-up back in the 90s, but he was talking about how they're never going to cure cancer, right? Like they're never going to cure cancer because the money is in the treatment. Like once you cure something, there's no money in it anymore, right? So like think about it, like it, you know, it's partially true. I don't want to get all tinfoil hat conspiracy theory on you, but think about that. From a standpoint of making money, it doesn't make sense for the pharmaceutical industry to cure anybody. So think about medications that they keep you on forever. So when I look at the opioid epidemic, right, they were making people dependent on opioids. They were like, a lot of my drug dealers, when I was, you know, in my active addiction, a lot of my drug dealers were older men and older women who were getting monthly supplies of opioids. I almost said surprise, so maybe their supplies were surprises. But anyways, they were getting monthly supplies. So if somebody is getting prescribed opioids every single month, they're gonna be hooked on them, and now they're dependent, so now they need them to function, okay? So when it comes to Suboxone, so Suboxone is marketed as this medication where, here, use this medication instead of heroin or prescription opioids, but we wanna keep you on it forever. Like, doesn't that set off any alarms for you? Doesn't it set off any kind of red flag like, okay, why do they wanna keep me on a semi-synthetic opioid for the rest of my life rather than trying to help me figure out how to live a life without these, right? So, like, it's important to see how the pharmaceutical industry is trying to keep us on medications forever, okay? Like, and one of the issues is that we're starting to use medications as therapy. So if you look at, like, you know, Xanax, right? Or if you look at Ritalin or Adderall, these are medications designed to keep you on them, because why would you go to therapy when you could just pop this pill? Instant therapy, because it tranquilizes your brain and you don't have anxiety, all right? And for everybody listening, I'm gonna take 1 second to read some comments. Emily Savage says, I had a doctor in inpatient who had the worst bedside manner. Then later, I had one who was kind but prescribed Vyvanse very casually. All doctors have good and bad qualities. Yeah, absolutely. And it's tricky too, like bedside manner, like I appreciate it and I want it so bad, but sometimes, like what pops into my head was my son's mom had to have an emergency C-section. So like the doctor who delivered my son, he was a dick, but he like saved my son's life. You know what I mean? Like kind of like Dr. House. I never really watched that show, but sometimes you need like a house dude to come up in there and just be a dick to save your life, you know? But yeah, like for a primary care doctor, bedside manner is the best. Diane Jennings, fellow YouTuber and a buddy of mine. She says, for anybody listening, Diane is from Ireland. So I just want to make that clear as I read her statement. But she loves America. Loves America, don't you, Diane? So Diane says, the American system seems more exploitive. I wonder why. We have pharmaceutical reps in Ireland too, but we don't seem to get the shadiness to the extent. Well, Diane, so here's something else that everybody needs to take into consideration. The United States is one of the only 2 countries on planet Earth that can do direct-to-consumer marketing for medications. All right? Like, think about that for a second. We are one of the only 2 countries on planet Earth where they can make commercials for medications because it's not ethical. Like, doctors, this is why you have to find a doctor who is kind of a dick, right? Because doctors are not your waiter or your waitress. So many people, they see, like, when you watch these commercials, so Diane, I don't know if you've ever noticed this when you come to the United States, but if you watch like regular television with like commercials and ads and everything like that, like it is almost every single time you watch, you're gonna run into an ad for a medication. And you know what they all say? Ask your doctor. Ask your doctor about this. So sometimes what they do is people go in there and just ask their doctor for a medication, and the doctor's like, yeah, sure, here, we'll try it. You know what I mean? And we're one of the only 2 countries who does this. So here's what we need to understand too, like, and I don't want to get all conspiracy on you, but I just want to talk about like training people, right? Training people and the way they think. From a young age, from the time that you are a kid, you are seeing commercials for these advertisement, for like these medications, right? So from a young age, we in America, we are trained to believe that we need medications. And that's something that's crazy, because when you look at all these other countries, they are not using medications as often as we are. So Naomi White, hope I'm saying that right, says, how do you feel about doctors have given out benzos for years and years when they were meant for short-term use, and now so many are dependent? Yeah, that's awful too, like especially when it comes to benzos. Like, I know some people have severe anxiety, and listen, you're talking to somebody who is diagnosed with a generalized anxiety disorder. Now, as an addict in recovery, I can't take benzos, okay? I take, I was taking Lexapro, I just recently switched back to Prozac. These work fine. And here's the reason why so many doctors prescribe Xanax and Valium is because they act so quickly. They go straight to your amygdala and they tranquilize it. The amygdala is the part of the brain that is responsible for your fight, flight, or freeze, okay? That is where the stress hormones come out, okay? This is what is making you anxious. So things like Valium and Xanax, they attack it very quickly. But like Naomi just said, this is meant for short term, like, or as needed. So whenever I have a friend who tells me that their doctor prescribed them Xanax and they know, about addiction and stuff, and they ask me, I say, here's what I recommend. Take it as needed and work on your anxiety. Like, work on your anxiety. And this comes through therapy, this comes through meditation, it can come from diet, it can come from all sorts of other things. I brought up in the video I did this morning too, like no joke, like, smoke some pot, like smoke some weed. Weed will help you with your anxiety. Like, and don't get me wrong, like, as I say this, weed can become addictive, but it is far less dangerous than something like Xanax or opioids, right? Like, I'm gonna do a more in-depth video on marijuana for chronic pain management, but there are so many other options that do not come from addictive medications that can potentially lead to overdose. Like, some people say, well, Xanax, you can't overdose on Xanax. Well, the problem is that people often abuse Xanax with another substance. You know what I mean? But yeah, Diane Jennings, for those of you who don't know, she's in Ireland and she does a bunch of awesome videos. But Diane, maybe we could do a video sometime comparing like United States medication distribution to Ireland. All right, another question or comment. Josh the Hipster says, have you met any of your current friends at rehab? What was it like hanging out with fellow addicts? So if anybody's in recovery, the best thing you could do is hang out with fellow addicts. And yes, I actually, 3 of my best friends to this day are all people I got sober with in my sober living house. 2 of them just celebrated 7 years. I am the next one to celebrate 7 years. So just to hop back on the topic real quick, and if anybody in the chat wants to ask questions, don't forget to tag me or do a super chat, that way I can see it. But to jump back into this, how do you, can you trust doctors? Like, the answer is obviously yes and no. Everybody's different. There's good doctors, there's bad doctors, all right? So what do you do? What do you do? So here is my method, all right? Here's the method that I use. Whenever I have a new doctor, it's about developing trust, right? So first I feel the doctor out. Do they listen to me? Do they care? Da-da-da-da-da. Because the first thing I have to say personally, and I know a lot of my listeners are not recovering drug addicts like I am, but the first thing I personally have to say, one of the things I have to do is say, hey, I'm a drug addict in recovery. I cannot take any narcotics. So that's the first step, right? So I think one thing that you should put on your checklist is, if you are an addict in recovery, how much does the doctor care? How much does the doctor care? Because, real quick story, when I was about 2 years sober, I got into my very first car accident. Head-on collision, I was all busted and bruised up, and the next day I went to the emergency room, and I was so afraid to go to the emergency room because my drug of choice is prescription painkillers. So when I went to the emergency room, I brought a friend with me to help keep me accountable. When I checked in and they asked me if I had any allergies, I said, yeah, I'm allergic to any kind of narcotic medication, opioids, benzos, whatever it is, right? So I told them that, and they gave me a little wristband saying I could not take these medications. Well, when the doctor finally saw me after they did the x-rays and stuff to make sure nothing exploded in my body, this doctor, I am not shitting you right now, this doctor knew I was a recovering prescription painkiller addict. He offered me pain meds 3 times. 3 times. Like, I had to tell this guy no 3 times. And then he sent me off with a prescription for pain medications. This doctor did not give a fuck about me or my sobriety. Now, not every doctor does this. Like, my primary care doctor, she knows that I'm an addict in recovery, and anytime she's about to switch my medications or recommend a new one, she always knows to tell me if it's possible to become addicted. Like, one time I was just in there talking about my struggles with weight loss, and she was about to prescribe me something, and she said, although it's not a narcotic, people can develop addictions to it, and I opted not to take it. So anyways, what I would recommend is whenever your doctor is prescribing you anything, ask them the potential to become addicted to it, all right? Something else that you can do, like, I am just really big on personal accountability and responsibility. So, like, whenever a doctor is prescribing you anything, like, do your research. Like, do your research. You know what I mean? Like, look into it. Look into what this medication is. Look into what this medication does. Look into what other people say about this medication. Because some doctors aren't even bad doctors. Some doctors aren't even like malicious and just, doing it for the money. But some of them don't realize the addictive potential. Like, when we look at the opioid crisis, although the doctors played a major role in it, the doctors were lied to by the marketing done by people like Purdue Pharma, you know what I mean? So sometimes the doctor doesn't even realize that it can become addictive. The next thing I would recommend that you do for your own due diligence is question anything that a doctor wants to keep you on for months or longer, right? Like, for example, I'm still, healing. Like, my heart is 99% better, but 7 years ago when I got sober, I had congestive heart failure. So I still have like high blood pressure and things like that. So I'm on 2 different heart medications that I take every day, all the time. And, I've been taken off of them when my heart does better, and then I've been put back on them. Part of it's because of my weight, but these are non-addictive medications. But like, if a doctor comes to you and like prescribes you Xanax and wants to keep you on it for months, like, ask them why. If a doctor, is giving you Suboxone when you get clean, like, ask them why. Like, why do you want me on this medication for so long? Like, something that I always do is, and I tell people to do, is make sure you follow up with your doctor, because some people are afraid to even take antidepressants, like non-narcotic antidepressants or anti-anxiety medications. Follow up with your doctor and say, do I still need to be on this? Like, in my opinion, a good doctor is one who wants to keep you on as few medications as possible, all right? That is the goal. That is the overall goal. Like, can you live a great life? Can you stay healthy on as few medications as possible? If you have to, get a second opinion. Like, go get a second opinion. It is, a lot of us just take the easy route. The doctor fills out a script and we're like, okay, I'll just pop this pill or whatever. And we don't realize what it's doing to our body, right? So I get a lot of questions from people, especially like with chronic pain and things like that, who are either afraid of becoming addicted or they already have become addicted. And I tell them all the time, like, see if you can talk to some kind of other pain specialist or a holistic pain specialist. And here, one of the issues that we face as a Western culture is we believe that if it's not in a pill, there's no scientific evidence behind it, which is absolutely insane. Like, we think that if it doesn't come in the form of a pill, There is absolutely no science behind it. But you guys, there is so much science behind so many things like acupuncture, right? Physical therapy. There was science behind meditation for things like anxiety and pain management. Like when people are like, oh no, you don't understand, I have to take Xanax. And I'm like, okay, well, have you tried a non-narcotic? Like Lexapro or Prozac or Zoloft or whatever? And they're like, no. And it's like, okay, have you tried meditation? No. Have you tried switching up your diet? Like, there's so much new science coming out here about like gut bacteria, right? Like your diet could be influencing your anxiety or your depression. You see what I mean? But people are so quick to think that their medications are the only solution. And if you look at the comments in my videos, you will see, like, once somebody gets hooked on their medication, they protect it. They protect that shit like it is the president of the United States. Like, they do not want you to take their medications away. Like, it is almost like when the gun debate comes up and the Second Amendment, did I say minion? Second Amendment, right? Like, they do not want you to take these medications from them. You see what I mean? But here's the thing, like when no matter how much I talk about medications and doctors and the pharmaceutical industry, what I'm always looking at is the root cause. The root cause, what's going on, right? What is going on? Because like I said, we are overprescribing all of these medications. The data shows it. We prescribe more of these medications than any other country. So what is the root problem? Are we more depressed than any other country? Are we more anxious than any other country? Are we in more physical pain than any other country, right? So the question is that I'm always trying to help all of you, the viewers or listeners, what I want to help all of you get to is this. Why are you in so much pain? Why are you in so much psychological pain? Why are you in so much physical pain? Is it possible that it's the way that you're thinking? Is it possible the way that you perceive the world? Is it possible that it's because of the boundaries that you set up or don't set up? Is it possible that you haven't, sought help through therapy to deal with the shit in your past that is affecting your day-to-day life today? Like, why do you feel that these medications are going to be a long-term solution, right? Like medications, or even drugs and alcohol and that kind of abuse, what we say is it's a short-term solution to a long-term problem. You see what I mean? So again, like taking back control, like getting back behind the steering wheel and getting into the driver's seat. Like, is Big Pharma just magically gonna stop wanting to make billions of dollars? No. Are politicians gonna quit taking a bunch of money from Big Pharma? No. Are all doctors magically just never gonna do anything unethical ever again and overprescribe medications? Like, are they just gonna stop doing that? No. So when I look at that, this is something that has helped me with my anxiety. In every situation, I look at what I can and cannot control. So I can't control Big Pharma, I cannot control the doctors, I cannot control the politicians. What I can control is what I put into my body and the efforts and the lengths that I will go to. And this is one of the reasons why I find it that I'm very fortunate to be a drug addict in recovery, because I will go to any lengths to protect this shit, right? Like, I will sit there and research alternatives to pain management. I will sit there and research alternatives to Xanax. You see what I mean? When I was showing symptoms, never diagnosed, but showing symptoms of just like attention deficit, right? Just my brain and how it was functioning, my doctor said, the only things I can prescribe to you might be addictive. I'm like, okay, well, I guess that's out. Like, my doctor would have prescribed me Adderall had I not been an addict for what I was dealing with. And I was like, okay, well, I've lost that luxury. I cannot take those. So, like, that's the question to you. For all the medications we take, like, how much research? Like, when I ask people this to their face, a lot of people have very bad answers, right? Like, Like, when I ask somebody, how much research did you do into treating your anxiety before you took Xanax? How much research did you do into treating your symptoms of ADHD before you took Ritalin or Adderall? How much research did you do for your pain management before you got onto a long-term opioid maintenance program, right? And a lot of people just say none, right? Or they'll just fucking lie to you. But when you start to show the studies and the data to them, like, that can be empowering, and just knowing that there's other options. So, at the end of the day, can you trust doctors? The answer is yes and no. So many things that we're going to talk about on this podcast are yes and no answers, not very black and white. All right? And checking out the chat, congratulations to Naomi, 436 days sober as of today. Booyah! You're very welcome. Thank you for sticking around, Naomi. All right, but anyways, I hope this episode of the podcast and this live stream answered some of your questions about, can you trust doctors, should you trust doctors, who you can trust. But at the end of the day, remember, this is all about your own research, your own due diligence. Get a second opinion, right? And if you're struggling with mental health issues, get to the root of the problem, okay? So talk to your insurance company, talk to your doctor, see if they can recommend a therapist who will help you get to the root of your problem, okay? Like, there are many biological factors, there are chemical imbalances, there are genetic predispositions to mental health issues, but medications do not solve all of those problems. Therapy is often one of the best things that you can do. So go research some therapy. I personally use BetterHelp online therapy. It is always linked down in the description below if you want to check that out. That is an affiliate link. So you get cheap, affordable online therapy from licensed therapists, and a little bit comes back to the channel, helps support what I'm doing right here for all of you beautiful people. All right, so before I let you go, do not forget, if you're not yet, go follow me over on Instagram at The Rewired Soul. And if you're watching this live stream, make sure you follow the podcast, share it with your friends. I talk about a lot of fun, interesting subjects. So make sure you share it with your friends. Go subscribe to it on, iTunes or Spotify or Google Podcasts, whatever your thing is. All right, thanks for joining me, and I'll see y'all next time. All right, everybody, I'm going to end the stream. Thanks for hanging out. I love your faces.